What is good and welcome to Chatwin Reacts. I'm Jack, your British goat, and today we're going to be reacting to the top 10 clowniest, is that a word, #1 draft picks in the NBA history. I'm assuming by this they're meaning players that got drafted #1, which turned out to be a stupid option for #1. I could think of one on the top of my head. We will see if he's in there. As always, before we get into the video, there's 3 things we got to do. #1, you got to have below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and of course, enjoy the video. Let's go.
Getting drafted first overall is a big deal. It means a franchise believes you're the best player in the world at that
For
moment.
me, it's got to be Lonzo Ball, right?
Most #1 picks go on to become legends. LeBron James, 4-time NBA champion. Tim Duncan, 5-time NBA champion. Shaquille O'Neal, absolute dominance. In fact, over 25% of all #1 picks in NBA history have made the Hall of Fame. But for
That's a good percentage.
Instead of becoming franchise legends,
oh, they're gonna. I was gonna say, are they gonna put Zion Williams in
we have
it?
A player who quite
or Williamson? I never know what his surname is.
When the Philadelphia 76ers traded up to draft Markelle Fultz #1 overall, they thought they were getting a future superstar, a 6-foot 4-inch guard with elite ball handling, a smooth jumper, and the ability to score from anywhere. He looked like the perfect piece to pair with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. But then something bizarre happened. Fultz's shot, the same one that made him a top prospect, completely fell apart. His free throws looked mechanically broken. He started hesitating on wide-open jumpers.
He must have injured his shoulder or something.
Changed overnight. At first, people assumed it was just a rookie slump until reports surfaced that he literally forgot how to shoot. Some blamed a mysterious shoulder injury, others said it was a mental block. But either way, Fultz went from being a scoring machine in college to a player who...
I was watching a show on Netflix and they had this, like, it was like an actual show. Like,
games over 2 seasons, the
there was a player, it was a basketball
trading him to Orlando for almost
show.
nothing. To his credit, Fultz has rebuilt his career with the Magic. He's developed into a solid NBA player, averaging around 12 points and 5 assists per game. But when you're picked before guys like Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, and Donovan Mitchell, you're not supposed to be just a solid player. You're supposed to be a franchise superstar. And if you think Fultz is down,
so already my team, the 76ers,
a player who got knocked out in his very first NBA game. Speaking of getting left, don't get left out. Test your strength by punching that subscribe button. Just don't break your hand like Kareem did when he met our next first overall pick. Ken Benson's dream of being the #1 draft pick turned into a nightmare. Immediately. How bad was it? Just 3 minutes into his very first NBA game, he got punched in the face so hard that he needed stitches. Here's what happened. Benson, a 6'11 center from Indiana, was the Milwaukee Bucks' choice for the top pick in 1977. He had dominated in college, leading the Hoosiers to an undefeated championship season, and Milwaukee hoped he would be their next great big man. But in his NBA debut, Benson made the mistake of elbowing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the stomach. Now, if you know anything about Kareem, you know he was usually calm and collected, but not that night. Kareem snapped, immediately turned around,
I don't blame him.
Face with a right hook, breaking his hand in the process. That punch ended up being the most memorable moment of Benson's career. Beyond that, he was just average at best. Over 11 seasons, he bounced around the league, putting up 9 points and 5 rebounds per game. Not terrible, but nowhere near the
thing is though, like, surely being the #1 pick is just got to make your whole career harder. Like, you are under the spotlight constantly. Do you know what I mean? Like, it must be, if you're not up to scratch.
And one of the best scorers of his era. Instead, they wasted their pick on a guy who's best remembered for getting knocked out in his first game. But at least Benson had some stability in his career, which is more than we can say about the #8 player, who bounced around 12 different teams and never lived up to the hype. Unlike most players on this list, Joe Smith actually had a solid career. But when you're picked first overall, solid isn't good enough. Coming out of Maryland, Smith was seen as a versatile big man with scoring ability and defensive potential. The Golden State Warriors believed he would be
the Warriors. Was that there?
But instead, he became one of the most traded players.
That looked like the Pacers.
Over 16 seasons, Smith played for 12 different teams, never staying in one place long enough.
Was that 6 seasons?
Over 16 seasons,
Smith played for 12 different teams,
never staying in one place long enough to make a real impact. His career averages 10.9 points and 6.4 rebounds per game.
Ain't awful though, is it?
But nowhere near superstar level. Instead of leading a franchise,
if you're not a starter,
the definition of a journeyman. And when the best thing people remember about your career is how many jerseys you wore, you know you didn't live up to the hype. But as disappointing as Smith was, the 7th pick on this list had even bigger problems. His body just couldn't handle the NBA. Enter Purvis Ellison, or as fans started calling him, out-of-service Purvis. Coming out of Louisville, Ellison was a highly touted big man who led his team to an NCAA championship and was even named most outstanding player of the tournament. The Sacramento Kings saw him as their future centerpiece, but his NBA career barely got off the ground. Injuries ruined him.
It's a shame though, because you got to think there's some big boys that
gave up and traded him after just 1 season. The Washington Bullets,
just because of their size. You think of Wanyama, right?
One breakout year in the 1991.
He's so tall,
season, averaging 20 points and 11
he's
rebounds.
getting injured because of it.
Just when it looked like he was turning things around, his body betrayed
him. I don't know how to say his name.
Downhill spiral of missed games and
we're gonna call him Webby.
He finished his career averaging 9.5 points and 6.7 rebounds, decent numbers, but not even close to what you expect from a first overall pick. Ellison's story is a reminder that sometimes talent isn't enough. You need durability too. And speaking of durability, our next pick was a 7-footer who could shoot. but refused to rebound or play defense. The NBA loves unicorns.
Well, that's
big
what...
men who can shoot, stretch the floor, and change the game.
It's kind of what you're there
The
for.
Toronto Raptors made Andrea Bargnani the first ever European player drafted #1 overall.
Nice.
They thought they were getting the next Dirk Nowitzki. Instead, they got a 7-footer who avoided rebounding like it was a full-time job. Coming into the league, Bargnani had one major strength: scoring. He could shoot from 3, had a smooth offensive game, and occasionally showed flashes of brilliance. But there was just one problem. He did absolutely nothing else.
Bet Victor. New customers can get £30 in bonuses.
As always, while we're waiting for these annoying ads, make sure you're hitting that like button and the subscribe button.
Rebounding, a disgrace for a 7-footer, physicality, avoided contact like it was a tax bill. Over 10 seasons, Bargnani averaged 14.3 points and 4.6 rebounds per game. But for a #1 pick, that's just not good enough. By the time his Toronto experiment ended, Raptors fans were begging the team to move on, and they did. Bargnani bounced around the league for a few more years before heading back to Europe, where his style of play was a much better fit. If you think Bargnani was soft, wait until you hear about the #5 pick on our list.
We waiting.
So underwhelming, he's barely even remembered. Some draft busts are overhyped prospects who failed under pressure. Others, like LaRue Martin, leave fans
I thought they were going to show Zion.
In 1972,
I won't have Zion slander.
and somehow decided that a player who averaged just 18 points and 12 rebounds at Loyola University Chicago was the best choice. The problem? Martin was never considered an elite prospect. He wasn't even projected to go in the top 5, but Portland took him anyway, passing on future legends in the process. His NBA career, a complete disaster. He lasted just 4 seasons in the league. He averaged a whopping 5.3 points and 4.6 rebounds per game. By 1976, he was out of the NBA entirely. Meanwhile, the very next pick in that draft was Bob McAdoo.
I think that would be actually more interesting, actually, who was the second pick.
And a few spots later, Julius Erving, one of the greatest players of all time. Simply put, the Blazers blew it. LaRue Martin never looked like an NBA star, and he never became one. Instead, he's remembered as one of the biggest draft busts ever. But at least his career ended quickly. The next player on this list stuck around for a while,
God, he's a
even
big
though
boy,
he barely
isn't he?
did anything memorable. If there was ever a player who embodied bad luck, it's Greg Oden. Standing at 7 feet tall with elite shot blocking and rebounding ability, Oden was supposed to be the next dominant center, a player who could lead Portland for the next decade. But instead, his career turned into one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history.
Any of the guys to smackhead that was with
Pick Greg Oden, the physically
one
gifted
of the
big man, or
Kardashians.
pick Kevin Durant, an elite scorer who looked like a future star.
No,
They chose Oden.
that's
and at
Lamar
first, it made
Odom,
sense.
isn't it?
Dominant centers win championships. But there was just one problem. His knees were made of glass. Before even playing his first NBA game, Oden had to undergo knee surgery, causing him to miss his entire rookie season. When he finally stepped on the court, he showed flashes of greatness, but those moments were short-lived. His knees kept failing him, leading to more surgeries and more time on the sidelines. In total, Oden played just 105 games in his career, averaging 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 block per game. Meanwhile, the player Portland passed on, Kevin Durant, became a 4-time scoring
This is
champion,
what I'm saying.
an
I
MVP,
want
and a
to.
2-time NBA
I
champion.
need to
Portland
check
fans
that
have seen
out.
this nightmare before, because they made a similar mistake back in 1984, picking Sam Bowie
Sam
over
Bowie.
Michael Jordan. Oden's career is a sad
Over
case of potential
Jordan, wow.
ruined by injuries, but at least people expected him to be great. The next player on this list was questionable from the start. Some first overall picks enter the league with insane hype. Michael Olowokandi was not one of them. The Los Angeles Clippers had the top pick in the 1998 NBA draft and decided to roll the dice on a 7-foot center from the University of the Pacific, a player who had only started playing basketball a few years earlier. The result? A disaster from day one. Olowokandi had all the physical tools, height, athleticism, and length, but none of the skills to be a dominant big
It
man.
makes
He
you
lacked
think,
footwork,
right?
struggled
If they're like 7'1", even coming out of high school, their stats are going to be so inflated because they're taller and bigger than everyone. Even in like maybe the first year or two of college. So I can kind of see why the Clippers would have gone for him, or they would have been looking at him.
He was a below-average rebounder. Over 9 seasons, he put up a forgettable 8.3 points and 6.8 rebounds per game. Not exactly franchise.
What's
all-time numbers.
MPG
The worst part,
mean?
the Clippers could have had Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Pierce, or Vince Carter, all future Hall of Famers. Instead, they wasted their pick on a player who became a
I mean,
walk-on
hindsight's a
If you ever need
beautiful
proof that
thing,
the Clippers
but
were a cursed franchise in the 90s, look no further than Michael Olowokandi. But at least he stayed healthy. The next pick had talent, but barely even got to play. The first high school player ever
Kwame
drafted first
Brown.
overall, Kwame Brown, was supposed to be a revolutionary talent. Instead, he became the face of draft busts and the biggest mistake of Michael Jordan's front office career. When the Washington Wizards picked Brown first overall in 2001, expectations were sky high. He was 6'11", athletic, and had all the physical gifts to dominate the league. But there was one massive problem. He wasn't mentally ready for the NBA. Brown was drafted by a 42-year-old Michael Jordan, who was coming out of retirement to play for the Wizards. And if you know anything
He was
about
playing
Jordan,
with the Wizards at
you know he
42.
doesn't do patience. From the moment Kwame stepped into practice, MJ humiliated him. He called him soft. He questioned his work ethic. He broke his confidence before the season even started. Kwame struggled to adjust to the NBA, and instead of developing, he became timid, inconsistent, and overwhelmed. Over 12 seasons, he bounced around the league, averaging just 6.6 points and 5.5
Jeez.
rebounds per game. And here's the worst part. The 2001 draft had Pau Gasol and Tony Parker, 2 players who would go on to become multiple-time NBA champions and Hall of Famers. While Kwame Brown wasn't the worst
I'm
player
intrigued
ever,
who number
he's
one
forever
must
remembered
be.
as one of the biggest disappointments in NBA history. But as much as people clown on Kwame, at least he lasted over a decade in the league, unlike our number 1 pick, who was out in just 4 seasons. If you ask NBA fans who the biggest draft bust of all time is, chances are they'll say Anthony Bennett. The Cleveland Cavaliers had the first overall pick in 2013. 2013, and absolutely nobody expected them to take Bennett. He wasn't even projected to go.
Did
in
they
the
have
top
LeBron
five,
back
but
for this
some
point?
reason, the Cavs believed he was the next big thing. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. From day one, Bennett looked completely lost. In his first NBA game, he went 0 for 5 from the field. It took him 4 games to score his first basket. By the end of his rookie season, he averaged just 4.2 points per game. The worst numbers ever for a first overall pick. It didn't get any better. Bennett struggled with conditioning, confidence, and injuries. The Cavaliers gave up on him after just 1 season, trading him away in a deal for Kevin Love. But even after leaving Cleveland, Bennett never found his footing. He played for 4 different teams in 4 years before being completely out of the league by 2017. And the worst part? The 2013 draft class had Giannis, 15th pick, a 2-time MVP, NBA champion, and one of the greatest players of this generation. The Cavaliers could have drafted a
Well,
future Hall
Giannis
of
has
Famer,
been
but
in the
instead,
league for
they picked
that
a player
long.
who became the face
I
of
didn't know
draft
that. I
class for our
thought he'd only been a
subscribers,
couple
we got
years.
a bonus player. So if you haven't already, go ahead and slam that subscribe button like Shaq in his prime.
Ooh,
And keep
fuck.
watching because this next one might be the most frustrating of them all. Ben Simmons isn't a draft bust, but he might be the biggest disappointment in recent NBA history. Coming into the league, Simmons was labeled as the next LeBron James. A
I
6'10"
like
playmaker
Simmons.
with elite defense, insane athleticism, and court vision that made him look like a generational talent. He even backed it
I
up
can't say it's
when he
because I'm a
rookie of the year,
76ers
making
fan
multiple
because
All-Star teams.
I'm only a
Then,
new
true started to
76ers
come.
fan.
Simmons had one fatal flaw.
I've never
He
watched a game with
refused
the
to
76ers,
shoot.
but
Literally refused. For years, analysts and coaches
which kind of
begged
doesn't
him
make
to
sense
develop a
if
jump shot.
you're
He
new
never
to my
did.
channel.
Defenders started
But,
sagging off of him, daring him to shoot, and instead of evolving his game,
I
Simmons
picked
doubled down on
Philadelphia
avoiding
as my
his
adopted
entire.
city,
Right
so
now,
I just
Simmons
support
is
all the
barely
teams
holding on to an NBA career.
from
And the worst
Philadelphia.
part, he had all
I don't
the
even
tools
know
to
where
be the
Ben
greatest
Simmons
players of this
plays now.
generation, but his own fear of
he the
shooting
Nets?
held him back. From a player who refused to shoot to one who refused to lose. If you want to see a legend who backed up every word he said, click.
I don't know where he is. Anyway, let me know what you think of that one down below. Of course, is there any #1 draft picks you think should also be on this list? And is there any people that got drafted 2nd or 3rd that had some top tier careers? Let me know down below. And of course, we're down there. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Hope you have a great day. Peace.